Hi, this is your host Anthony Andura Jr. and welcome to the Highlighter Show. Today we'll be covering the top best Batman cinematic villains in the films, adapted based off those characters from the comics. The first villain that we'll be speaking about on this list is Ra's al Ghul. He was created by Danny O'Neil and Neil Adams and introduced into the Batman comics in issue 232 of the story Daughter of the Demon in 1971. Well, how do we describe Ra's al Ghul in a sentence? An egomaniac terrorist who has good intentions in helping society, but in order to help society, his intentions is to wipe them out, destroy the systems and destroy the government, which is how he plans to go on his crusade, which is very different from Batman's crusade, which is to help reorganize society and help society for the better. Now, Ra's al Ghul, despite his good intentions, he doesn't agree with everything that Batman does, but he does see Batman as an equal and as a worthy successor of him, and also an heir for when he takes Talia al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul's daughter. Now, there are notable stories that have been covered many times in the comic books, but Ra's al Ghul, is one threat. You can kill him, but he always comes back from the Lazarus pit, which every time he comes back younger, comes back stronger, and comes back a little more crazy than usual. Now, moving on.
Look at it, detective! One of the last of the rainforests. The world depends upon its oxygen, yet the rich see only profit in its destruction. You, who belong to the overclass, have much to answer for.
Bruce Wayne donates millions of dollars a year to preserve the...
The next Batman villain on this list is otherwise known as Scarecrow, aka, and by a civilian identity, Jonathan Crane. He was introduced in World's Finest Comics, issue number 3 in 1941, created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger. Now, Scarecrow, he's one of those interesting villains that he doesn't seem like much physically, but he does cause damage on various levels, emotionally, psychologically, and every other level you could think of, pretty much. He's caused Batman a lot of trouble with fear toxins that cause hallucinations and manipulations of feelings and sense. So anybody who comes across Scarecrow, I suggest you should always look the other way and get out of an area whenever you face that character. Now, he has been shown in films such as Batman Begins, which is a pretty good example of the lengths that this character would be able to go. And you've seen him in the video games such as the Batman Arkham games, especially in the upcoming game Batman Arkham Knight. Now, notably, Scarecrow, what he's best known for other than fear toxins is also fooling with other people's memories, which those fear toxins help to manipulate the characters or whoever he wants to manipulate along the way to pursue his goals, which is obviously to belittle everybody who has ever bullied him since he was a child, which we all know Batman's greatest weapon is fear. And when another character uses fear for his own pursuits, well, that becomes a problem. Moving on.
How did you hear? He's here. Who? The Batman. What do we do?
The next Batman villain on this list is Mr. Freeze. He was created by Bob Kane, Sheldon Moldoff, and David Wood. He was first introduced in Batman issue 121 in 1959, and then redubbed as Mr. Freeze in Detective Comics in 1968. Now, Mr. Freeze, he was never really a bad guy, or let alone a villain. He actually was a tragic character. He pretty much became a cryogenetic engineer, scientist, and he was trying to always find the cure for his wife Nora. Now, because of finding this cure for his wife, kind of led him into very dark places, which is why no matter what he could do, he would do whatever it takes to take out anyone who comes his way between him and a cure for his wife Nora, which obviously is complications for Batman.
Of my own design. I created it for the express purpose of freezing subjects stricken with inoperable ailments. Subjects like my own beloved wife, Nora.
The next Batman villain on this list is Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face. He was created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger in Detective Comics, issue 66, 1942. Now, Harvey Dent was just another tragic character just like Mr. Freeze. He was never a bad guy, but due to an accident, he became disfigured and suddenly developed an alternate personality and became very indecisive of his choices. So, in order to balance his mind, he used a quarter that also had the same scarred mark on the other side of the quarter. And whenever he flips it, he would make a choice whether he would take a life or save a life. And that's usually what he would always do. And as always, he is most of the time an enemy of Batman's, and at other times an ally, depending on the situations.
Hello, Grace.
Harvey!
My name is Two-Face now.
No, Harvey.
This is my world now. A dichotomy.
The next Batman villain on this list is known as Bane. Created by Graham Nolan, Chuck Dixon, and Doug Moench. First introduced in Batman Vengeance of Bane, issue 1993. Well, year that is. Most people know, at least at this point, Christopher Nolan's interpretation of Bane. My origin story is one to be told. If anything, I was born in prison, raised in it. I didn't know the day of light until it came. I was betrayed by Ra's al Ghul. And I had also fought for the law of Talia al Ghul. But I was always defeated by Batman. Now moving on to the next.
We take Gotham from the corrupt, the rich, the oppressors of generations who have kept you down with myths of opportunity, and we give it back to you, the people.
Next Batman villain on this list is the final one on this list. He's a big fan favorite among everyone. His name is the Joker. Created by Jerry Robinson, Bob Kane, and Bill Finger. He is the philosophical equivalent of Batman in every way. Matches in wit, matches in how much he can psychologically break you down. His whole purpose is to make sure that your life truly is a joke, and he'll do whatever it takes. And one thing about the Joker that's the most interesting is that his origin story is one that no one could ever figure out. Alan Moore has covered in his story with Dave Gibbons, The Killing Joke. He's delved in the most closest thing to the Joker's origin story and identity. But what is the Joker's identity? No one knows. And no one has ever seemed to ever mention or crack that. And also, before he was the Joker, he was the Red Hood. But underneath that Red Hood, no one will ever know. If there's one thing that's for sure, the Joker is not one villain to be taken lightly. There have been many other villains that have shown to be somewhat of a challenge to Batman, but no one has ever come close to how much torture and chaos that has been caused other than the Joker.
Oh, I got a live one here. I'm glad you did.